Good morning, students. In revision, today we can revise 9th lesson solution. Definition for solution we have studied in 10th standard itself. So, solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. We can say example as salt water is a solution and even air is an example for solution. In solution, we can explain two important terms, that is solvent and solute. So first one, solvent, isn't it? The substance in solution which is larger amount by weight, that is termed as solvent. Larger amount by weight. Next, solute. In solution, the substance which is lesser amount by weight, that is termed as solute. Lesser amount by weight. So I will say an example in salt water. Sodium chloride salt is dissolved in water. Here, so water is termed as solvent. So in this solution, salt water, the larger amount by weight is water. So we can term this as solvent. The sodium chloride, which is dissolved in water, is when compared with the water, the amount is less. So we can say the sodium chloride as solute. Next we can see the topic, that is depending upon the solvent, we can classify the solution into two, that is aqueous solution and non-aqueous solution. When you consider aqueous solution, if particular solution, the solvent used is water, we can say the solution solvent is water. We can say this type of solution is aqueous solution. Usually ionic compounds, they can dissolve in water. Non-aqueous solution. In solution, the solvent used is except water. It may be organic solvents like benzene, ether, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride. If we have used this type of solvents, we can say such solution as non-aqueous solution. So these are the two types of solution. So next we can see, so what are the terms used to express the concentration of the solution? To express the concentration of the solution, molality, normality, formality, parts per million, mass percentage. So like this, so many terms are there to express the concentration of a particular solution. So first we can see important term is molality. This we can write. So it's a ratio between number of moles of solute divided by mass of solvent. So molality is, so it's a ratio between number of moles of solute divided by mass of the solvent. So mass of the solvent, it should be given in kilogram. Next we can see the term molarity. So molarity of this any solution can be defined as it's a ratio between number of moles of solute to the volume of solution. So this ratio, it will give molarity value. So next we can see normality. So this term we have used for, in practical titrations we may use normality, isn't it? So normality is ratio of number of gram equivalents of solute, number of gram equivalents of solute divided by, so this volume of solution in liter, okay? So volume of solution in liter. So this ratio, it will give the definition for this normality. So not only these three, along with that some other definitions also given, you have to refer it. Next we can see the term solubility. So solubility means so we can say the amount of solute that can be dissolved in specific solvent at specific temperature, that we can say as a solubility. So usually solubility of solution, any solution which depends on three properties, that is nature of solute and solvent. We are considering a solution, its solubility depends on three headings. One is nature of solute and solvent. So next is, we can say it is temperature and next pressure. So these are the three factors which affects the solubility. So first one, nature of solute and solvent. So this we can explain like this. Usually ionic compounds, for example sodium chloride. So these ionic compounds, they can dissolve only in water. Okay. So but in the case of organic compounds, they can dissolve only in non-polar solvents such as benzene, chloroform or carbon tetrachloride. So such type of solvents we can use. So depending upon the nature of the solute, the solvent molecules should be changed. Next is temperature. When you increase the temperature, usually kinetic energy of the molecules, it will increase, isn't it? So when the energy of the molecules increases, it will increase the solubility also. In short, we can say temperature increases, solubility also increases. So next, it is factor is pressure, isn't it? So the same as like this. So when pressure increases, solubility also increases. So in gaseous molecules, the relationship between this pressure and the solubility is given by a law that is called as Henry's law. Okay. So in Henry's law, it is given like this: the partial pressure of a solute, I am giving A as a solute. So it is directly proportional to mole fraction of the solute. So what's Henry's law states that is partial pressure of a component, that maybe we can take as a solute, which is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the solute. So PA proportional to XA. To change this proportionality sign, I am going to write PA is equal to KH into XA. Is it clear? So now we are going to plot PA against XA. So PA is taken in y-axis and XA is taken in x-axis. So you will get a graph like this straight line. From the straight line, so this constant, empirical constant KH value we can find out from the slope of this straight line. Is it clear? So what is Henry's law? PA proportional to XA. Mole fraction of the solute is directly proportional to, partial pressure of the solute is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the solute. Some limitations are there in Henry's law. So this Henry's law it is suitable for only at moderate temperature. Limitations. It is Henry's law. It can obey only at moderate temperature. Moderate temperature and pressure. Next, less soluble gases also do not obey this Henry's law. So it is not applicable for less soluble gases. Next is gases which can dissolve in solvent also cannot obey this Henry's law. For example, NH3 ammonia, hydrochloric acid, hydrogen chloride. So these gases they can dissolve in water easily. For example, NH3 is a solute. When it is dissolved in solvent water, it can be ionized into NH4 plus OH minus. So like this, the gases which can dissolve in a solvent like water, so they cannot obey for this Henry's law. So these are the explanation for this law. Next is vapor pressure. So before explaining this, so we can see a law, that is Raoult's law. So the same as like Henry's law, here also this law states that partial pressure of each component it may be a binary solution. Binary solution means a solution contains two components. Okay. So in the case of binary solution, for example, you are taking two volatile liquids. So the combination of two volatile liquids, partial pressure of each component is directly proportional to mole fraction. So consider first component as Pa, which is directly proportional to Xa. To remove this proportionality sign, I am going to introduce constant K into Xa. So K is equal to P0A. Okay. So P0A is, that is partial pressure of pure solvent. So Pa is equal to P0A into Xa. So I have taken example as two volatile liquids. Next step. The next component Pb also partial pressure of this B component. We can write P0B into Xb. Okay. So when you need to add this two, so the total pressure of these two volatile liquids can be calculated by, so total pressure P is equal to Pa plus Pb. So which is equal to P0Xa plus P0A into Xa plus P0B into Xb. So from this we can find out the total pressure of this two volatile liquids. So next is ideal solution and non-ideal solution. So ideal solution means the solution which obey this law They are called as ideal solution. Non-ideal solution, the solution which do not obey this Raoult's law, that is called as non-ideal solution. The reason for this non-ideal behavior can be explained in the terms of depends on nature of solute and solvent. Nature of solute and solvent, and it depends on the temperature, pressure, next one more explanation, it is given depending upon the solute, that is dissociation of solute and association of solute. Dissociation of solute, and one more it is association of solute. So these are the factors which are responsible for this non-ideal behavior of the solution. Okay. So next we can see important topic, that is colligative property. The property which or does not depends on the properties which or does not depends on nature of the solute, they are called as colligative properties. Here 4 colligative properties are explained. So first one is relative lowering of vapor pressure. So these 4 properties we are going to explain. Okay. So relative lowering of vapor pressure, elevation of boiling point, next is depression in freezing point, the last one is osmotic pressure. Why these properties are called as colligative property means, so these properties does not depends on nature of the solute. So it is called as colligative properties. First one we can see relative lowering of vapor pressure. When you consider 2 containers, one container it is having solvent, the other container which is having solute, in which is one container we have taken solvent, the next container we have taken solution. Okay. So in this solution non-volatile solute is added. When you compare the vapor pressure of these 2 containers, so usually this vapor pressure of this solvent is lower than that of the solution. Here non-volatile solute is added, isn't it? So presence of this solute, the vapor pressure will be less. Here it will boil easily, but the presence of the solute particles, this boiling point will be less than that of the solvent. So that in common we can say vapor pressure of the solvent is lower than that of the vapor pressure of the solution. Okay. So this we can write like this in terms of first relative lowering of vapor pressure, we can explain like this, that is P0 solvent minus P solution divided by P0 solvent is equal to XB, that is mole fraction of the solute. Okay. So now P0 solvent minus P solution divided by P0 solvent. This XB we can write mole fraction of any solute can be written as NB divided by Na plus Nb. Here Nb is number of moles of solute, Na plus Nb. Na is number of moles of solute. So total number it is given here. But in the case of a dilute solution, Na is 2 greater than Nb. Okay, so we can neglect this term. So XB becomes NB divided by Na. Is it clear? So next, number of moles of solute we can write like this: WB divided by Nb. And Na we can write like this: WA divided by Ma. When you substitute this Nb and Na value in this equation, we can write XB is equal to WB divided by Mb. So W stands for weight of the solute into, take the reciprocal, Ma divided by Wa. So this value, when you rearrange the equation from the relative XB, when you substitute this value here, okay, so afterwards when you rearrange the equation, we can find out the Mb value. So Mb is molar mass of the solute. So important point regarding with this is, from the colligative property we can determine the molar mass of the non-volatile solute can be determined. Okay. So first property we got finished. Next one is elevation of boiling point. From the word itself we can understand elevation, that meaning is increasing, isn't it? So boiling point gets increased. So we can see where it has increased. So take two containers, one is solvent, the other one is solute, the solution. So the solution which contains non-volatile solute. When you consider the solvent and solution, solvent and solution is there. When you consider this two, so vapor pressure of the solvent is lower, but solution, its vapor pressure is more, isn't it? So that boiling point of solution is more than that of solvent. Okay. So which is high? Boiling point of solution is high. Then that you are explaining second one. So here it is low. So like this. If the boiling point of the particular solution which contains non-volatile solute is more than that of solvent, which is termed as elevation of boiling point. Increasing boiling point of the solution which contains non-volatile solute is more than that of solvent, that is termed as elevation of boiling point. This elevation of boiling point is termed like this, that is delta Tb. Okay, delta Tb, that represents the elevation in boiling point. So we can write like this: Tb minus T0b. Here Tb, that is represent the boiling point of the solution which is high. T0b, that represents the boiling point of the solvent. Okay. So now this delta Tb is proportional to m, that is molality of the solution. So now delta Tb proportional to m, this to change this proportionality sign, I am going to introduce a term that is Kb into m. Okay. So this Kb is called as elevation boiling point constant or ebullioscopic constant. Kb is called as ebullioscopic constant. So question may be, what is ebullioscopic constant or elevation of boiling point constant? Okay. So we can explain like this: when m is equal to 1. So in this last equation you are going to substitute m value as 1, isn't it? So when you substitute m is equal to 1, equation becomes delta Tb is equal to Kb. Delta Tb is equal to Kb. Isn't it? So now how we can define ebullioscopic constant? Ebullioscopic constant is equal to elevation in boiling point of 1 molar solution. We have taken M is equal to 1. So for 1 molar solution, elevation in boiling point, that is called as ebullioscopic constant. Is it clear, students? So next we can see depression in freezing point. So from the word you can understand. So depression in freezing point, the word that is depression, that meaning is freezing point of solution is less than that of solvent, that is called as depression in freezing point. Okay. So freezing point of the lowering of freezing point of a solution which contains non-volatile solute is lower than the freezing point of solvent, that is called as depression in freezing point. What we have told, that is solution less value, and for solvent freezing point value is more, isn't it? So we can write delta TF is equal to, so what is delta TF? Depression in freezing point can be termed as delta TF. So delta TF is equal to, proportional to molarity of the solution. So to change this proportionality sign, I am going to introduce a constant, that is Kf. Delta Tf is equal to Kf into m. So what is Kf? That is called as cryoscopic constant or depression freezing point constant. Freezing point depression constant, Kf. Cryoscopic constant. So if the question is for the definition of cryoscopic constant, so in this last equation you can substitute m is equal to 1. When m is equal to 1, this equation will become delta Tf is equal to Kf. Now can you define what is cryoscopic constant? Cryoscopic constant is equal to depression in freezing point of 1 molar solution. Is it clear? But the best use of this depression freezing point is we can calculate the molar mass of the solution. So take like this. So delta Tf is equal to Kf into m. So we have to find out this m value. So m is equal to number of moles of solute into 1000 divided by mass of solvent. You can take A as solvent, B as solute. A represents solvent and B represents solute. So first we are going to find out number of moles of solute. Number of moles of solute can be calculated by number of moles of solute is equal to moles of solute is equal to, it is WB divided by MB. So WB that stands for weight of the solute, MB that stands for molar mass of solute. Is it clear? So we are going to substitute this value in this equation. So M is equal to, molarity is equal to WB divided by MB, and mass of the solvent, which is A, the mass of the solvent must be WA, okay, into WA, here into 1000. So this value, it is giving M value, isn't it? So this M value must be substituted here. So you can write delta Tf is equal to Kf into, what's the value of m? Wb into 1000 divided by mb into Wa. When you rearrange the equation, so here which term that represents molar mass of solute, students? That is mb, isn't it? So when you rearrange the equation, take this mp here and delta Tf, it will move here, isn't it? So we can write like this. mb is equal to Kf into, this is Wb into 1000 divided by, so this delta Tf, it will move here, so delta Tf into Wa. So from this value we can find out the molar mass of the solute. So this equation, it will be useful for problem also. Maybe weight of solute and solvent is given. So Kf is the constant value, delta Tf is depression freezing point. These all values are given, means we can find out the molar mass of the solute. Next we can see last one, osmotic pressure. The term osmosis that represents that the movement of solvent molecules from lower concentration to higher concentration through a semi-permeable membrane, that is termed as osmosis. And osmotic pressure is a pressure we are applying to stop the influx movement of solvent, that is called as osmotic pressure. So these two definitions we have to learn, osmosis and osmotic pressure. So mathematically we can, by want of equation, osmotic pressure is given by the simple pi, which is proportional to molar concentration C. C is the concentration. To change this proportionality sign, we are introducing CRT as constant. So pi is equal to CRT. So this equation is known as one-half equation. So in this equation, each term we can explain like this: pi, that is osmotic pressure, C, that is concentration of the solution, or is gas constant, T is temperature. So this equation also useful for the determination of molar mass of the solute. Previously we have seen it the same way. So when you see this equation, C, that is concentration, which is equal to N by V, that is number of moles of solute divided by volume in liters. Number of moles of solute we can write like this: Wb divided by Mb. Here Wb stands for weight, amount of the solute. Mb stands for molar mass of the solute. So substitute this in this equation. So C is equal to Wb divided by Mb into V. When you substitute in this equation, so pi is equal to C value is Wb into RT divided by Mb into V. When you rearrange the equation, molar mass of the solute can be calculated using osmotic pressure. When I rearrange the equation, it is Mb is equal to Take this MB here, move this pi value here. So it is WB divided by pi into RT divided by E. So this equation, it will give the molar mass of the solute. Is it clear? So next topic we can see isotonic solution. If two solutions they are having same osmotic pressure, that solution we can call it as isotonic solution. So next one more definition, that is reverse osmosis. So see here, reverse osmosis, isn't it? So here, reverse osmosis we can explain like this. So here only the solvent molecules can be moved from solution side to solvent side. So take this as an example. Here a semi-permeable membrane. Okay. So this membrane may be made up of by cellulose acetate or polyamide ester. Okay. So this semi-permeable membrane, and this side we are having solution. So from here it is solvent is there. From the solution side, only solvent molecules can be moved through the semi-permeable membrane. So this type of process, that is termed as reverse osmosis. The important application of this reverse osmosis is desalination of seawater can be done by this reverse osmosis method. So here through a cellulose acetate or polyamide ester will be used as a semi-permeable membrane, and one side the seawater which should be purified is taken. So the other side pure water is there. So from the seawater only water molecule except that sodium chloride particle. So this will be passes through that semi-permeable membrane. So that's why salt water can be purified. So this important application of this reverse osmosis. So next we can see abnormal molar mass. The actual molar mass of the solute particle and the value which is determined by experiment. So both or will not be same in all cases. The reason behind this abnormal molar mass is dissociation and association of solute particles. So first we can see what is dissociation and association. First one, association. Association of solute, best example we can explain acetic acid. Two molecules of acetic acid, when it is taken as an aqueous solution, so it will become as a dimer, CH3COOH12. In solution, it will become as a dimer. So this dimer, it will, when you consider the molar mass of the actual molar mass of acetic acid and this experimental molar mass. So experimental molar mass value is more than that of this normal molar mass. Okay. So because of this associative property of the solute particle. Next we can see dissociation of solute. when you consider sodium chloride in water, this sodium chloride, it will be dissociated into Na plus and Cl minus. So because of this dissociation, number of moles of solute increases, but the molar mass of the experimental value is lower than that of the normal molar mass. So these are the two cases which are responsible for this abnormal molar mass. This extent, degree of dissociation or association, it is given by a relationship between this Born-Haber factor. That is, Born-Haber factor is the ratio between actual molar mass and the normal experimental molar mass. Between this ratio can be given by a term that is Born-Haber factor. So the relation between degree of dissociation or association on this Born-Haber factor can be given by the equation alpha dissociation is equal to I minus 1 divided by n minus 1. So here degree of dissociation, that is alpha dissociation. Here I is Born-Haber factor, n is number of moles of solute. The same way association can be written like this. Alpha association is equal to 1 minus I into n divided by n minus 1. So this is here I Born-Haber factor, n is number of moles of solute. So from this two equations, that gives the relationship between degree of dissociation or association and Born-Haber factor. So here the simple use for Born-Haber factor is I. So next, we have seen there are four important colligative properties. The first one is relative lowering of vapor pressure. Next, depression and freezing point, elevation of boiling point, and osmotic pressure. The major use of these four properties, they will not depend on the nature of the solute particle, but the important application is they are used for find out the molar mass of the solute. So here A, that term is given for solvent, and B, it represents the solute particles. That is MB, that represents the molar mass of the solute in the equations. We have seen for depression, freezing point, and from osmotic pressure how we can calculate the molar mass. The equation we have seen. The last term we have seen osmotic pressure. So afterwards, so this osmotic pressure is useful for molar mass by using the equation pi is equal to CRT. So in common we can write for relative lowering of vapor pressure, relative lowering of vapor pressure is given by the equation relative equal to P0 solvent minus P solution divided by P0 solvent, which is equal to XB. Mole fraction XB is equal to, I'll write here, XB is equal to WB divided by, NB divided by NA plus NB. NB by NA plus NB. So afterwards, this NB, that is number of moles of solute, this is number of moles of solid. So usually that solution Na is 2 greater than NB. So we can write NB divided by Na. So here NB is equal to, I am writing at that side. So we have to write 3 more also. So NB is equal to WB divided by MB, and NA is equal to WA divided by MA. When you substitute these two values, after rearrange the equation, we can find out MB by using this relative lowering of vapor pressure. Relative lowering of vapor pressure value we can find out experimentally. Next is elevation in boiling point, isn't it? So elevation in boiling point, that is delta TB is equal to Kb into M. So M is molarity of the solution, that is number of moles of solute divided into 1000 divided by mass of solvent, isn't it? So from the number of moles of solute, we can find out the molar mass of the solute. Next, third is we have seen depression in freezing point. So in depression of freezing point, simple as delta TF is equal to Kf into M. Okay. So here M is molarity of the solution. So M is equal to number of moles of solute into 1000 divided by weight of the solvent. Number of moles of solute is equal to WB divided by MB into 1000 divided by weight of the solvent WA, isn't it? So when you substitute this equation here, we can, after rearranging, substitute like this: delta TF is equal to Kf into M value WB divided by MB into 1000 divided by WA. So what we have to find? Molar mass of the solute. So MB is equal to, take this delta TF here, so Kf divided by delta TF into WB by WA into 1000. So this value will give the molar mass of the solute. Next is osmotic pressure, fourth one. So osmotic pressure is given by the symbol pi. Osmotic pressure is given by the symbol pi. Pi is equal to CRT, isn't it? So C is the concentration. We can write like this. So C concentration is N by B. So here N is number of moles of solute. So number of moles of solute we can calculate by WB by MB, isn't it? So we can write like this: pi is equal to WB by MB into V RT. After rearranging, we can write MB is equal to WB by pi into RT by V. So this equation will give the molar mass of the solid by using osmotic pressure. So these are the important formula which is used for the calculation of molar mass. Next we have seen the Van-Hoff factor, isn't it? So Van-Hoff factor is given by the term I. Here you have to study dissociation, degree of dissociation and degree of association. So this important questions also you have to study from 9th lesson. Okay. So okay, thank you students.